Hello and good morning. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and this is Coffee Conversations from Roofer's Coffee Shop. We have a very, very special conversation today. We are very excited to talk about the state of spray foam, a conversation that I think needs a big platform, and we're giving it that today. We're so excited about our guests. Top thought leaders in the industry. So before we get started on this great topic, I want to say thank you all for being here. Let's do a little housekeeping. This is being recorded. So as this will be available in 24 to 48 hours, please share it out with all your other roofing professionals, friends, family, everyone in your business. This is the kind of information that can really make a difference to your business. Also, as you all know, the chat is open. So please let me know where you're coming in from, the type of business that you have, and then throughout the entire conversation, please ask questions, make comments, emojis, whatever you want to do. We're very excited to have you be a part of this great conversation. So, oh, and we already have Jennifer coming in. Good morning from Spray Works Equipment. Yeah, that is great. Okay, here we go. We're excited to talk about this. I want to thank General Coatings for their sponsorship. In fact, Will Lorenz, who is one of our guests today, who you're going to get introduced to in just a second, was fun. He was the one. He said, Heidi, let's do this topic and let's get Mark Graham from NRCA. I just am very excited about this. So thank you, General Coatings, for not only sponsoring this coffee conversations, but for being that thought leader and really putting the initiative to have the conversations. So thank you so much. Um, and as we go through here, we're going to start with some introductions. I have to tell you, this first introduction makes me very happy. It's the first time that he's been on a Coffee Conversations, which I can't believe, but I am just so proud to have Mark Graham here today. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Heidi. Glad to be here with you and with Will and all your viewers. And I agree, this is a great topic. Probably not discussed enough in the industry. So I'm glad to be able to share a little bit of NRCA perspective on spray foam. And I'm going to actually give you a little bit of background. Interestingly enough, I have some roots in spray foam. I've been in the roofing business for about 40. I've lost count. It's 42, 44 years. And actually, the first contractor I was with, FJ Christensen in Milwaukee, actually did a reasonable amount of spray foam work back in the day. So, I mean, we're talking then in the early 1980s. Spray foam business was a lot different than it is today. And that's what some of the things we're going to talk about here. But it's just kind of interesting. This is, kind of a little bit getting back to my roots. And just to fill out my resume or background a little bit for the listeners and viewers, I'm an engineer by background and training. Please forgive me for that, by the way. Uh, I mentioned the Christensen time, what great education there. Went on to a consulting company for a few years, and in 1993, I took a phone call from Bill Good about coming here to NRCA. And I'm like, yeah, what the heck? I'll do that for 5 years. At the 16-year point, I realized, wow, I kind of overstayed my intention. And now what's mind-boggling to me, that realization I overstayed was 17 years ago. I just feel really fortunate to be able to work with a fantastic group of people in the industry and folks like Will and actually folks like you, Heidi. Also, it's just exciting and it's fun to come in every morning. So glad to be with you today.
I am so happy to have you, Mark. That is just so exciting. And I
Thanks.
love those stories. And I kind of understand that. I think a lot of people get into roofing and then all of a sudden they're like, I've been here for quite a while and I'm very happy about that.
It's the
So
Bermuda Triangle sometimes. We get in,
it
you can't get
is.
out.
Exactly. Um, yeah. So okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Had just a little interruption there, but we are moving on. Will, thank you so much. I already mentioned this was your idea. I just love this. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company and what you do?
Well, thank you, Heidi. I'm just glad to be here with the legendary Mark Graham the thought leader for NRCA on the technical side. Just honored to be able to share with him about spray foam together with all the people here. I'm president of General Coatings. We're a manufacturer of spray foam and roof coatings, and we're located in California and in Texas. And I'm a chemist by trade, so I've kind of they got the different brain side going than the engineering. I don't always look at it from a math perspective. I look at it that big picture kind of ideas. And I've been fortunate enough that other people have helped train me in this industry. I didn't know anything about roofing, but owe my roots to roofing to the Henry Company and Resin Technology, who helped get me into this. And then, of course, I've excelled at General Coatings, and just honored. Always been around polyurethane foams and spray foam and roof coating. So we're a member of NRCA, proud member of that, the Roofing Alliance, proud member of RCMA, Roof Coating Manufacturers Association, Spray Foam Coalition, and of course SPFA, the Spray Polyurethane Foam Alliance. So we're all about unity, trying to bring everybody together and talk about great product, spray polyurethane foam, and how it can do wonderful things on a roof.
I have to tell you, Will, you have really you brought me, you've taught me so much about spray foam over the last couple of years. We've been just so happy to work together on so many things. And really, every year we've been going to the spray foam conference. And when I saw last year the amount of roofs and the professionalism, the performance of the roofs and the award winners, it was absolutely incredible. So we want to kind of start out talking about some of the roofs out there that people may not even know have spray foam on them. And this is kind of one of them that's showing up on the screen right now. So, Will, why don't you start us out with just for those who are on who maybe are not as familiar with spray foam, just talk about the technology and really what you're seeing, where it's being the best use applications out there today.
Well, thank you, Heidi. That is a Las Vegas entertainment center. I would just say it looks like a sphere, so it must be a sphere. Uh, a great place for you to go and watch tremendous shows, from U2 onwards. Places that are done with spray polyurethane foam. They put 5 inches of foam and acrylic roof coatings and granules on the top of a spherical ball. How amazing. And sealed it up, waterproofed it, opened on time during the COVID time frame. And, just amazing that spray foam can do projects like that. In the past, super projects like the the Louisiana Superdome was done with spray polyurethane foam, and then many, many schools, many warehouses, commercial buildings. So, we're just doing a diversified network of buildings with spray polyurethane foam with our industry. And, it's a very simple system. It's a plural component materials that come together in a spray machine, and it's then applied onto the roof. It rises and cures, and then you put a protective coating system on top of it, acrylic, silicones, urethanes, or combinations of thereof. And it's a design system to be renewed and sustained. So it's just really exciting, and it does it well if you have good contractors who are well trained. It's a really durable performing system.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. One of the big award winners last year was the New Orleans Convention Center, which is all spray foam. And so there's a lot of projects out there that people may not be aware that are happening. But I would love, Mark, for you to kind of let's look back, right? You like you said, you were doing spray foam in one of your first jobs, but really looking at where spray foam has come over the years, how it's been used. I would love for you to share it because you have such a rich history and knowledge of that.
That's kind of a polite way of saying I'm the old guy of the group, isn't it? I mean, thanks.
Nah.
But I can give you a little bit of history. It's really interesting. I mean, spray foam, I think, has started to be used a little bit in the 70s and 80s. It's following, if you think about it, the Arab oil embargo, and in the early 70s, all of a sudden the building industry got interested in energy efficiency. And spray foam kind of fits that very well. I think it was really kind of a niche, small market player, maybe a little bit underground, if we want to use that terminology, up until I'm going to say the mid 1990s. And I don't want to have NRCA claim responsibility for any of it, but there was two things that happened in the mid 90s, which I think were really, really interesting. In about 1994, NRCA's Manual Update Committee acknowledged that it's the time where spray foam should be in the manual. So over the course of 94 and 95, we actually did a lot of work in the Manual Update Committee. And spray foam has actually been a section of the NRCA roofing manual since 1996. And we made a pretty big leap from 96 to 2001 and kind of perfected things and along that line. So it's been recognized by NRCA now for a good bit of time. And every 4 years, when we do the manual update, we sit down with spray industry folks like Will and others and say, what's changed? What do we have to tweak and things like that. And it's gotten to be, I think, a very good section of the manual. Now, if you're not familiar with our manual, it's not the minimum requirements like the building code. It's not the requirements you need for a warranty. It's a group of folks in the industry sitting down saying, if we can put a roof together and have it be a fantastic roof, in other words, better than average, what would we do? And that's what the NRCA manual and the spray foam section of the manual basically depicts. So if you're not familiar with it, I'd encourage you to take a look at it. Around that mid 90s time frame, there was also, I think, another inflection point, which I think was critically important looking back. The spray foam industry came to NRCA, and actually, I think one of the first calls might have been to me or maybe Bill Good at the time. And the question was a simple ask. What do we need to do as an industry to be more recognized, more mainstream? And it's not that the spray foam industry needs a blessing from NRCA. That's not what it's all about. But what Bill and I suggested is, why don't we get together as the industry, spray foam industry, NRCA, individual foam manufacturers, coating manufacturers, contractors, designers, and let's put a research program together. And we actually did that through what at the time was called the National Roofing Foundation. It's now called the Roofing Industry Alliance for Progress. And Renee Dupuy went out and looked at hundreds of roofs around the country, spray foam roofs, and we got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. I accompanied Renee on probably about a quarter of those roofs around the country, and it was really interesting. And I got a couple of takeaways I'll share with you folks. The first of which, my first takeaway is, if you're ever in New York City, don't let Renee drive the car. Let him navigate, and I'll drive. He scared the living heck out of me. But on the serious side, we saw some really, really impressive looking spray foam roofs. And that was surprising to both Renee and I. And we'll show you where you can get a copy of the report and some articles like that and things like
Yes.
that. But I'm going to share with you a couple of the conversations Renee and I had in the car as we're driving around, and I'm hanging on for dear life. Uh, um, uh, One of those was, we were really impressed how quality spray foam contractors really did a top-notch job. I mean, their roofs were very well done. They looked fantastic. And you just walk through the roof hatch or the penthouse store, and the first reaction was like, wow. And the
Awesome.
second uh, front seat of the car conversation was about, this is kind of changing our perspective on spray foam, because, in Renee's job and honestly, nowadays in my job, we don't get to hear about the success stories. Contractors don't call us and say, this job was fantastic. We made money. The building owner was so happy we got paid early. I don't get those calls. The calls I get are about the ones that go bad, so we kind of have a little bit of a weird bent on what's going on in the industry. And Renee said something to me that I thought was really profound. And he said, just think of what it would be like if your entire perspective of the example he used, built up roofing, was based on built up roofs installed by maybe not so professional contractors, maybe not even roofing contractors. There's a distinct difference between a spray foam roof installed by somebody who isn't properly trained, properly educated, working with a great manufacturer, versus one who is trained top notch and what have you. So it was really eye-opening for us to see the best of the best in some fantastic applications in the spray foam industry. It was eye-opening. And I think the National Roofing Foundation, now the Roofing Industry Alliance report that Renee did on the spray foam industry dating back to, I think it was 1996, is really an inflection point for the spray foam industry. And boy, since then I've got to work with some fantastic folks. Like I said earlier, got to work with Will and other folks working on our manual and other industry projects. And it's all great stuff. In my eyes, spray foam is a viable option for all of us in the roofing industry.
And Mark, I love that story. I love it. And I can just see you and Renee
It was a
driving through
hoot.
New York. I can imagine. Um, but, and what I love about it too is spray foam was being used, was being installed incredibly well by these professionals, not so well by people who weren't trained. And that, I think that caused some concern through the years. But in the last 10, and I'm not even going to put a date on that, really the professionalism of the spray foam industry and the really demand when it comes to energy efficiency and so many of the benefits of spray foam have increased. So what have you seen since you've been in the spray foam industry and really the growth and training? Because you are such an advocate for training.
Yes, yes, I'd like to say that, but let me comment. I heard one comment story out of that Renee Dupree thing. It said, all the roofs we checked on didn't leak, even the ugly ones.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great summary of the fact of, what a roof's supposed to do is perform and keep the water tight surface in there, and that's what spray foam does. I'm a huge fan of training. I think people need to be prepared. I think first of all, if someone's getting on a roof, they need to go to NRCA and go through roof training classes and know what it is to be getting on a roof, regardless of what system you're installing. I think it's just so important, safety wise, personal protection wise, to do it right. We all want to come home at night, and then, I think that SPFA has a great PCP program where it's a four-step program for people to learn about spray foam and have field testing and learn. And I think it's so important to start from the person who's first on the roof as a helper to all the way to the people who are the designers. And SPFA has got a great program there, and RCMA has got a great program on the application of roof coatings. And every spray foam roof needs a protective UV barrier, and so a roof coating is required. So there's a lot of places for you to learn tremendous things of how to put together this assembly, which is typically like a primer, foam, and then coating systems on top. So very straightforward, but you've got to learn the equipment, you've got to learn the spray techniques. But honestly, the first thing is just how to do roofing right, how to do it safely, and that's what I try and pride everybody to do is be smart and be safe.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, that's all what NRCA does is that initial training to make sure that safety is number one, understanding the roof systems overall. Can you talk just a little bit about that? Because I think that's so important.
Well, I agree with Will entirely. Number one, has to be safety. And that might surprise you a little bit coming from me, being the technical nerd in a roofing association. You think I would be advocating for nuts and bolts and technical type of training, but safety is number one. And I think it's very important that our field personnel actually be trained in rooftop safety. Roofs are a little bit different than other types of safety programs. So whether it be ladders, fall protection, how to be safe on a roof, how to be safe with particular materials, that is absolutely job one because at the end of the day, we have to be able to go home, whether it be to go home to our families, go home to our life, but then also importantly, come back to work the next day. I mean, we have a tremendous labor issue in the industry, and the ability to have people come back the next day, next week, the next month is absolutely job one. So safety training, and I'm going to strongly advocate for roofing specific safety training, and we do a tremendous amount of that at NRCA. So feel free to dive on our website and look into that a little bit more. Safety training, it's number one in my book. Then, as Will alluded to, there's just basic roofing training. Some of the basics of roofs, roof decks, insulation, how to deal with flashings. NRCA has a series of programs that we refer to as TRAC, but it's basically applicator training and some of the basics on just fundamentals of roofing. It's not system specific, it's just basic. I'm on a roof, these are the things I should know. And then also, we've been doing quite a bit lately, and I think this is critically important, foreman or senior field personnel training.
Yeah.
Back in the olden days, 40 years ago, it seems like the foreman on the job was typically the one that could scream the loudest and swear and things like that. And we're really in a different culture nowadays. And I really think it's important that we properly train our supervisory field personnel. And Amy Staska and our education group have been doing that and do just an absolute fantastic job. One of the things I like doing at the IRE or whenever I get a chance to break away from my stuff is just go sit in one of those classes. And it's really encouraging to see that foreman level or maybe field superintendent level to be sitting down with their peers, not necessarily competitors. They might be sitting down with somebody from the other side of the country, but learning and sharing experiences together and basically becoming better leaders. And
Mhm.
boy, the energy in that room, for especially for that foreman training, is just invigorating. And I look at it from the perspective of, we're providing better roof systems, we're providing better working environments, we're providing a safer environment. But the main thing for me is the excitement level, and that's really the future of the industry. Boy, if we can get people excited, that's what the future of the industry is all about, and I find that invigorating.
I I do too. I mean, that is really what it's all about. And then to be able then to understand all the different systems that
Right.
are potential out there after you have that great base and
Mhm.
foundation. And Mike, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on from Costello Roofing. He says, I don't have much knowledge about spray foam except tearing it off to install TPO and EPDM. Hang on, Will. I'm looking forward to learning pros and cons, uses, and applications. Thank you. Which, Mike, you just heard the perfect, if you haven't been involved with NRCA and track, obviously you're already roofing, putting all that together. But that's what you led us right into the next topic that I kind of wanted to go over, and that is, Will, where are you seeing really, let's start with the benefits of spray foam, and what regions are you seeing really a growth with spray foam, and why? How is it beneficial to both the contractor but also the building owners?
Well, great question. Thank you. Um, what I first say is that spray polyurethane foam is primarily used as a recover system. So a lot of existing roofs built-up roofs, mott pit roofs, metal roofs. They have a choice as to what to do there. And those are great roofs that, are opportunities for spray foam as an additional layer of foam insulation and roof coating to go over the top of. The new thing is we're, really getting into new construction more and more. But, existing roofs out there, what are we going to do? Are we going to coat it? Are we going to tear it off? Are we going to put another layer of an additional roof system on top of it? That's where spray foam excels, because as a system, it's a fully adhered system. So it sticks to all the surfaces that are out there. It's a seamless system. So there's no place where, a penetration, or it can kind of come due to expansion, contraction, it can kind of separate. And then it's self-flashing. So you have irregular penetrations like a round pipe, and you got to get something to seal around it. Well, foam, you spray it down, it rises up and seals around it real well. And so complicated roofs are really excellent choices for spray polyurethane foam because of those ability to be self-flashing and seamless systems. What we've always seen is, spray foam would excel in the hot, dry climates. It's done really well in Arizona. The people at NRCA, that Arizona Roofing Contractors Association, run great training programs down there. Wonderful people. Such hands-on training they do there. California, Texas are big places for spray foam. And we've seen a lot of emergence in the Northeast and also, in the Southeast, where, people are looking at roofs and saying, well, we're going to have to tear this off now because of these crazy things going on in Florida. What system can we put on? And we want to have something that's sustainable. So a polyurethane foam system can go down with that foam and coating. And then as it gets closer to the end of the service life, you can get up there, do some minor repairs, make sure it's holding watertight, make sure it's dry and well bonded, and then put another layer of coating over it and extend the life of it. And so, places where, condo associations where they're, have limited amount of funds and availability are looking at spray polyurethane foam as a system that they can put on once and keep recoating and not have giant expenditures that are difficult for the members in the condo association. And so, a great opportunity for spray foam in those areas. And spray foam has always been used in the like rural places. You got a barn and you need to insulate it. Up in the Midwest, people foam it on the outside, they foam it on the inside. Foam seals up stuff so water doesn't come in. So it's being used all over.
Heidi, can I chime in? I got a couple of things
Yeah.
I'd like to expand on what Will said. Will used the word, I think, continuous and monolithic when he was referring to spray foam. I'll just mention yesterday, I was teaching a class at the University of Wisconsin-Madison on roofing, and it's one of the interesting things that the class kind of dove in on and gravitated on was board joints and thermal losses through board joints. And in the energy code, we use a concept called continuous insulation. The premise is the insulation is not interrupted by rafters and things like that. In other words, we put board stock insulation on top of a roof, and we don't have thermal shorts at board joints or at rafters and things like that. But we do still have thermal shorts and R value loss at board joints. With spray foam, that's not the case. There aren't board joints in spray foam. It's a continuous, somewhat monolithic application. And the effect of that lack of board joint is kind of almost like free R value. If you have an insulation system that have board joints in it, there's some old research out there that says you're going to lose about 8% of your R value from the board joints. There's actually some new research out of Canada, which we're going to be talking about after the first of the year, that's going to show that number is actually about 12, 13, or 15%. So it's just the method of application of spray foam without those board joints. You get the kind of that free bonus of not R value loss from the board joints. Another interesting thing I find really interesting about spray foam is since it is field applied and we can add additional lifts where we need to and what have you, you don't necessarily have to look at spray foam as a continuous thickness monolithic spray across the entire roof. You can build up crickets, you can build up taper, and you can actually deal with field conditions. I think both Will and I have been on way too many roofs where there was a dip or a depression somewhere in the roof. And if you try to fill that in with board stock insulation or tapered insulation, all you're really doing is you're just moving the bird bath from here over there. But with spray foam, you can actually, a good spray foam applicator, a great applicator at the end of the gun can take that, see it, and just deal with it by adding an additional lift or some taper in his lift to not only move that bird bath, but actually move it right down the drain. So I think that's kind of a unique thing that we have with spray foam insulation, both the lack of board joints, so there aren't those thermal shorts, and then the ability to add taper in the field to address those field irregularities.
Well, and Mark, I'd love you to keep going too on this because one of the things that we're hearing, especially like Will said in California, my New Jersey, I know does a lot that direction is really that need the increase of insulation, the effective, the solar reflectivity, just kind of that whole sustainable roofing system. What are you hearing from NRCA about the demand for that kind of stuff, and how has spray foam kind of started to fit that all together?
Well, the drive and the codes and the standards and state legislation is for more insulation, more R value. Back, 40 years ago when I started in the roofing industry, we were probably putting down an R of 2 or 4 or maybe 10 on roofs. And as recently as 20 years ago, a highly insulated roof was probably an R of 15. Now we're looking at, depending on where you are in the country, 25, 30, 35, and in some cases even greater than that. Let you in on something here. I'm in Chicago. The state of Illinois is looking at a stretch energy code. In other words, an energy code on steroids, where we will be moving in some jurisdictions from an R of 30 to an R of 33. And you think, about what's the big deal about that? Well, that's an additional inch of insulation. And that gets a little bit complicating in the field. The nice thing about spray foam is you're basically developing R's from the bottom up with the thickness, and it's a relatively high R value material. So I think spray foam fits in well into what we're seeing with energy code mandates and mandates for higher and higher R values.
Yeah, it's all coming together. And actually, Mark, I'm gonna stay with you and Lily, I'm gonna come back to your question, but because this is a technical question from Mike, I'm just gonna throw this in while we're talking about it. Foam would all be considered adhered systems, question mark. Would the foam be 25 to 30 up to 7.6 inches like a rigid board? Does that make sense to everybody? Or
Uh,
Will?
to be honest with you, no. Oh,
No,
R value.
our value. Okay, there we go.
The
Um,
simple answer to this question is yes. He has the answer to his question there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
I
I
mean,
Okay.
mean, Will, with what are you marketing right now for R value per inch or what have you on your products?
we have 6.9 and 6.5
Okay.
range. So, a lot of areas are R13, and so a couple inches of spray foam meets it right away.
Right.
And one of the things, as you said, Mark, that slope to drain capability there, filling in ponded areas are just fantastic for spray foam. And we have FM approvals with polyiso in conjunction with spray foam. Put down that polyiso to kind of build some significant insulation thickness, and then put 2-3 inches of spray foam on top of it to seal it up. Great combination systems that have been recognized by Factory Mutual as a high performance roof system with hail resistance, severe hail ratings, and performances there with wind uplift and all the things that are meeting all the professional requirements of any roof system out there, so that they can be used in Chicago in the winter, or they can be used in Florida in the hurricane zones. So our industry has really stepped up from the time when you saw it originally in the 80s, when they had great entrepreneurs, but have gun will travel kind of
Right.
attitude. And now with NRCA's help, with the Renee study and all the professional programs that are out there, we we feel like we are exactly where everybody else is at. We are a great roofing system that is an excellent choice for any building in almost all cases.
Well, Will, we have a question for you, and it's from Lily. And Lily, I'm just always so happy to see you here. How is roofing foam different from traditional closed cell foam? Do we expect roofing foam to grow quick in the next few years? And she says, seems like with economic downturn, LAR does well. Does roofing foam follow the same kind of, or so downturn, liquid applied roofing does well. Does roofing foam follow the same kind of trend?
What I would say to you is that spray polyurethane foam put on a roof is a closed cell foam, typically using an HFO blowing agent. It's similar as an insulation that's put in the inside of buildings. It's just a higher density, stronger, more durable. Most inside insulation is about 1.8 to 2.2 insulation from the closed cell perspective. There is open cell at half pound, which does great in attics and so forth in the southern climates. And then there is roofing foams, which is got a different category in ASTM, a C1029, and you'll find that it's varies from about 2.5 density. So that's a lower density that's used in areas that are not seeing snow and hail and people walking on it to 3 pound and a little even higher than that. So there's a range that gives a higher compressive value, something 45 to 60 compressive. So you can walk on it and know that it's a durable roof system holding up to foot traffic.
Mark, you were nodding.
Yeah, and what came to mind, Will, is I think that's something we as an industry probably need to do a little bit better job on. And that is explaining to the design community, building owners, there are different foams out there. The foam we're talking about on the roof is not necessarily the same foam that's in an attic. Chemically, it might be similar, but we're talking about a different density of foam, a different compressive strength. So just don't, look up in your house or what have you and say, we're going to put that on the roof. Yes, we are, but it's a different foam.
Different.
Exactly.
And what are you gentlemen, maybe we'll start with you. What are you seeing with, I think Lily's question about we hate to say it, but a little bit of the uneasiness in the economy right now, that we are seeing a lot more roof restorations done the right way. There's a lot more roof restorations going on. Are you seeing spray foam kind of following that trend and growing?
We are. So, what I would say is, if you're a building owner, you have an existing roof, you have several choices there. You can tear it off and replace it with like. So whatever you got on, you can put another one on, and that opens up the conditions. And then you might have to do all the upgrades on code and requirements there and more insulation. So typically a more expensive route, many times necessary, but more expensive. Or, you can look at it just applying a roof coating system or putting a membrane down, which are both cost-effective solutions, but doesn't give you, any enhancements on insulation. And that's where spray foam fits in that middle road. It can go over a lot of existing roof systems without tear-offs, and it can provide additional insulation, additional benefits to the homeowner or to the building owner by, keeping the control of your energy costs down. And, it can be easily applied without having to, tear up and do a lot of things. And so, from a cost standpoint, it kind of fits in the middle. From, new roof is usually always more expensive, and preparations with roof coating systems are the most cost effective, I would say, and then spray foam insulations in the middle. So, you give the building owner options depending on what their budget is, depending on what the building use is, depending on the conditions of the roof, depending on what they just want to have, their building perform to. And I would just say that, a spray foam system, it go down, you can put coating systems on that, are a very cost-effective 10-year type of system, or you can put on a 20-plus year system and you spend more on your roof. And people need to make decisions about their budgets and what they want to spend.
And that probably somewhat answers the question that also came from Lily on, will SPF ever take the place of polyiso?
Well, I mean, polyiso is a great product and legendary for going down on most low slope roofs. We're really just hoping to replace them in some areas, but also work in conjunction with them. The PEMA folks are good people, and we want to just say that we've got an alternative, and we've got an alternative that can be used in conjunction with their
Right.
materials and
Some hybrids.
great roof. So we want to be cooperative and help build, better performing roof systems for the building owners.
I first of all, thank you for all the questions. These are great. And so you actually all are helping to lead this conversation in such a great way. Because next one we were going to kind of go is we've talked a lot about the benefits, but we want to talk about the challenges and some of the areas that people need to be aware of and the challenges that are out there. Monica asked a great question. And then Mark, I'm going to direct this over your direction. It says, here in Southern California, we see a lot of foam roofs that have been eaten by birds. Any suggestions for avoiding this? Also, with a high level of tilt-up roofs in our area, we see lots of building movements causing splits in the foam. Any suggestions to help with avoiding this? Thank you so much.
Let me address the first one first, or the second one first. That's splits in foam and building movement and things like that. Building movement is a roofing industry issue. It's not a spray foam issue. And that's basically why we started with our initial comments. A good foam contractor needs to know the basics of roofing. I mean, there are places where control joints, expansion joints need to be installed, and that is totally independent of roof covering type. So, I mean, if the building is moving, we need to design and accommodate for that with a expansion joint, control joint, things along that line. On the bird peck issue, or I'm actually going to group this in with rooftop traffic. That is one of the things that really surprised Renee and I when we were driving around the country in the mid 90s. We kind of had this stereotype of, oh yeah, it's foam and it's a coating. And we really weren't in the mindset of some of the high performance things you could do with coatings. Will alluded to higher end coatings and also broadcasting granules into coatings between the first and the second path of coatings. And you really come up with a coating system that's incredibly durable. Let's put it this way, the bird would be sorry that he decided to go after the roof. And Will, do you want to talk a little bit about that, coatings and broadcasting granules?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, popular systems for us in areas on the coast are double granulated systems with acrylics, putting down 35 pounds per square and embed that into coating, and then putting another layer of coating to lock it down, and then put another additional layer of granules, and that helps give us superior fire performance for areas in California, and also just makes it just nearly impossible for any bird other than an ostrich to try and get through. And other systems is to put a very tough either polyurea or urethane base coat over the foam, and then put a durable, easy to repair acrylic or silicone on top of it. And what's really important here is that water or the bird can't get down into the foam, and so that you can't develop an area where you can have water saturation, or over time something which can then be dug out and then have a roof leak. And so if you make it so that it's hard for them to get there, and you put a few things up there to kind of distract those birds, they go someplace else. And I would also say that the best thing you can do is build a roof that has good slope to drain, because guess what? If it isn't a pond up there, they don't really want to come up there. They'll find another spot to eat and nest.
I'll also mention these coating systems with granules are just fantastic with rooftop traffic also. It really toughens up the top surface and does a great job for that rooftop damage and abuse we see from. We're in the roofing business. We need to complain about the mechanical contractor. That type of thing. And so it's a good option.
Yeah, very good. And we have another, it is a great follow-up question from Mike. It says, thank you. How does the coating affect the foam? Can foam be applied over the top of the coating if needed, then apply new coating? How would you handle spot repairs if they are needed? So, Will, you're nodding.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to say, best practice is to grind off areas so that you can do a foam repair properly, prime it, do that, and then put a new coating on top of it. Silicone is very difficult to get things to stick to. It's a great coating for the fact that it's inorganic. It's not really susceptible to UV rays, but try and put anything over it, it doesn't stick to it. People have put foam over acrylic. Not as much of a big fan of that. Again, I think that the best way to do is if you have an old beat up roof and let's say the coating is worn off and you need to put more insulation on, then scarify off the stuff that's bad, UV damaged, wet, get down to a good surface and prime and put a new layer of foam on it and a new coating system. Our industry should always consider what looks the most professional, does the best job, and represents the roofing industry right, so people are well satisfied with their buildings performing. And shortcuts are possible, but it's not the direction we should all really go.
Along that line, Mark, I would love for you to address, because I'm sure your technical team gets calls on this all the time, but one of the large trends that we are seeing is roof restoration and the importance of really prepping the roof, like Will said, making sure you don't have moisture in it, making sure you're doing everything right up front. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's important as we're talking about spray foam and coatings, that people really understand how critical that prep work is and evaluation.
Right. Well, with anything, whether it be roof repairs or if you're going over an existing roof with spray foam or something else, preparation of the existing surface is just absolutely critical. I mean, if we're going to try to stick anything to dirt, you don't want the dirt to be your adhesion or lack of adhesion mode. So surface prep is just absolutely essential. And that is coming through, I think, very well in the training. Will alluded to the Spray Polyurethane Foam Association and the accreditation program and all the training that they do. They do some fantastic work on training and explaining some of this surface prep type of things. Also, I just got to put in a plug for ASTM because both Will and I will be at ASTM meetings starting next Sunday, 2 days from now. ASTM has a series of standards that also deal with guides, application issues, things along that line for spray foam. So there's a lot of information that's out there. When it comes to coatings, some of the coating preparation is actually coating specific. So I would also encourage looking to the specific coating manufacturer. For example, is a specific primer needed? What primer would I use in this particular situation? That would really go back to the specific coating manufacturer. It's the interesting thing about spray foam, I think, maybe more than other systems. I think it's more of an industry collaboration. The Spray Foam Association, we have some stuff. The manufacturer, their guidelines and what have you are critical. So we have to kind of look at it as a collaborative effort, and maybe even a little bit more than we do with other roof system types. But there's a lot of information out there, a lot of good information out there.
And I agree, Mark. I'm a member of the Spray Foam Coalition, and we're putting together a quality program for the manufacturers, working with suppliers so that, whether it's insulation going underneath in residences or roof systems, we show and develop programs and have testing and accreditations that, reinforce that we do things well and that, people can trust these systems to do a good job, because the manufacturers are getting together and acting responsibly about quality and performance in the best interest of the building owners.
I just want to read a couple of these real quick because it's just so nice. Lily just says, thank you. First of all, Monica and Mike both said, thank you so much. You answered their questions. It was excellent. And then Lily, thank you guys so much for the additional information. This is such an under-discussed topic in roofing. So thank you for taking the time to discuss it. So, wow. Thank you, Lily, as always. And Chris Salazar, who we all love. Again, huge thank you to Mark and Will for spreading the gospel on professional training and application. We appreciate your work on ASTM and the NRCA roofing manuals. It's so true. When it all comes together, uh, the whole industry rises, as we talk about all the time. I would like to, for Mike and for the other contractors who are on here, Will, I'd like you to take just a few minutes and talk about how they go about getting the training, because differentiating your product offering right now in this economy is probably more important than ever, being able to have a lot of different solutions. But obviously, you have to have the training. So, starting with NRCA and the track program, and then specifically to spray foam, talk a little bit about SPFA and how they can get involved and get trained, or ARCA, which all these different training programs.
Sure. I mean, I would say, once you're a good roofer, then you're an excellent candidate to become an excellent spray foam roofer. And so, NRCA is the first place to start for learning how to be a roofer. And then SPFA has their PCP program, and coming up with their show in the spring in Las Vegas. They will be, offering the opportunity for people to come and do some of the testings there. They have a lot of it online. The first several levels are all online, available both in English and Spanish. So people can learn, whether you're a roof helper or a sprayer or, a designer, you can learn things there. I also say that I know that IBEC has a program about spray foam on there, and encourage people in the design community to learn that there. But then contractors can come to Las Vegas and do the field evaluation. So after you pass the test and you say you're ready, you can demonstrate your skills as to applying foam and knowing how to operate the equipment. Because again, each system has different things you have to be aware of. And polyurethane foam has this system, a Graco type of equipment there. It's a plural component, high pressure system with a gun. And, you have to know how to operate, how to maintain, how to use that equipment. And then you've got your coating pumps and systems that you have to be able to learn to be successful in this industry. So there's a multiple phase there beyond personal protection, beyond good roofing practices that you need to learn. And it's all available there, most of it all online. So you can do that. And then associations, like I said, like ARCA and Western States have great programs on training, whether it's, roofing programs with Western States, or it's ARCA's programs if you're in Arizona, where you get to pull the trigger on spraying some foam and learn about how it's done. And over the years, the folks at Ray Corp have been really well involved in that program and really led it into ARCA, and we're dedicated to, grateful for all their leadership there.
And I think really going to the shows, going to IRE, going to the spray foam show, and because I know Jennifer is on here and she just said, thank you for your time and expertise, Mark and Will, and she's with Sprayworks. So getting to know your equipment manufacturers, your equipment distributors, folks like Jennifer and Sprayworks is really important too, so that you can be able to ask a lot of questions. And that's what you can do at these shows, and really take the time. And that will start at IRE, because they're all there at IRE, and then it will follow through specifically into spray foam, which has all the training too. Frank, also, Mortal Hello, said, appreciate the insights regarding SPFA's professional certification program for roofing systems, including free field exams during the spray foam convention. So check that out. And, I just want to real quick, Mark, and we're there, but the importance of certification, of contractors actually taking the time to get certified by their manufacturers, by the associations and stuff. I'm sure that is a question that you ask all the time of contractors as they're calling in. How important is that?
I think it's absolutely important. And I started the discussion here this morning talking about when I was young, 40 years ago in the industry. And at the time we were what I'm going to refer to as basically Frankensteining roofs. It was this from this manufacturer, that from that manufacturer. And what it's really gotten down to is roofing is becoming a very systems approach. You purchase a package of material from a particular manufacturer, and it's important that you be trained specific to that package. So whether it's industry training or manufacturer specific training, just absolutely important. So So certifications, I think, are a critical type of thing. What the Spray Polyurethane Foam Alliance is doing with their training program, I think, is absolutely fantastic, and they've been doing it for a long time. We've made a couple references to the Spray Foam Show. I just want to make sure that folks get that on their calendars. The Spray Foam Show is let's see, March 22nd through 25th in Las Vegas, so 2 months after the International Roofing Expo. And more information on that in their training program is at sprayfoam.org. So that should be a reference for anybody interested in spray foam. And
Exactly.
come
And
on over and look at NRCA stuff too.
yes, yes, of course, all of that. Coatings Coffee Shop will be there with a full sound stage at the Spray Foam Show, and you can also watch a lot of what happened at last year's Spray Foam Show on Coatings Coffee Shop YouTube. We are constantly there watching the demos, talking to the people who are there. So I think there's a lot of places, really, bottom line, there's a lot of places to get information. Definitely would encourage everybody to take the time, get out there, see what it looks like. And I do want to share here just some beautiful pictures of spray foam. Well, we had to get that in. There we go.
Yeah.
And this is the article. So speaking of resources, if you go to NRCA.net, and if you are a member, which hopefully you are, log in, you're going to find all kinds. Last couple of weeks, I've been going through and searching the NRCA site. Mark, talk a little bit about the resources that are there for people, and including this article that really summarizes that study.
I mean, there's a wealth of information on our website, and every once in a while, I just go in there and hunt around to see what I come up with that I wasn't aware of. But something I want to make you aware of is if you get into the website, into the roofing guidelines section, there's a tab for document search. And back in the olden days of NRCA, I had a library across the hall from my office, and there was just, books from years and years and years ago on roofing. We've managed to scan all those, and we have over 22,000 documents on the website, and there's a document search. So earlier today, I just typed in SPF and see what shows up. And there were 4 screens, hundreds of documents specific to spray foam and spray foam installations. So there was some cool legacy stuff by some of our forefathers, which was really interesting to take a look at. There's Renee's work that I referenced from the mid 90s, and then some other stuff. So take a look at that, the document search section of the website, and then you can also take a look at all the training programs we have for you too.
Yeah. Really great stuff. I get on there all the time doing searching, and I know that NRCA is also working on some AI searches too. So the searches are only going to get better. And all the documents are there. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I have to tell you, this was beyond my expectations, and I was excited about it in the first place. So thank you. And obviously everybody else too. We're going to keep talking about spray foam, and you can find all this information on Coatings Coffee Shop and Roofers Coffee Shop. Go to General Coatings, to their directory along to NRCA, and you can find all that information. So again, I just want to say thank you to General Coatings, and thank you very much to NRCA, and Mark and Will. Thank you for doing this today.
Thank you, and
Thank
go
you.
boldly into the night and foam roofs.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you so much. And please join us in 2 weeks. We are going to have a Goodbye 2025 State of the Industry coming from the experts from SRS. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to hear what they see coming up in 2026 and what were some of the highlights of 2025. So please join us for our last coffee conversations of 2025 in 2 weeks. I hope all of you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.